Batman? Super secret mission for Batman. Hello, good sir. I checked your MySpace. I saw you studied Booster 2020. Awesome. Very awesome unit. Agreed. I am Batman. I fight crime in Gotham. I would have done this myself, but seeing as your professional student, I will hire you as my professional data analyst. I've attached the following. Please make use of this data and provide me with some insights ASAP. Over and out. Coolest bat in the sky. Alright. Cool. Now, if we want to start editing our sheet, we have to enable editing after downloading. And here it looks a bit cluttered, so what I'm going to do is just spread it out. I select all the columns with shift click and double click in between two lines. That automatically spaces it out for what's in the text. From here, we're going to activate our analysis toolpak. This is going to be our main utility belt, our main set of tools when working with Excel and doing any data analysis. So you go File, Options, head into Add-ins, and then go on down to Manage Excel Add-ins. You'll see the toolpak there, but just go Manage Excel Add-ins, click the toolpak, not the VBA, and press OK. Sweet, now you've got your analysis toolpak activated. There you can see it in the data tab and then data analysis, and you'll see all your tools there. And that's how you access your toolpak. Now we're going to go ahead and do some descriptive statistics for this data set that we've been given here. So just select the ranges, not the months. They have to be numerical values. Make sure you select columns because they're in columns, and the labels in the first row, as you can see. I'm going to put it onto a new worksheet called descriptive or descriptive stats, and there we go. I personally want to spread this out a bit. It seems very, very clustered, so I'm just going to spread them out, grouping by grouping here. Just shift clicking and moving to the side. And again, this looks pretty clustered. What I'm going to do is just select all the columns, double click in between, spread out the lines automatically. Bang, a lot neater already. Sweet. There we have some mean, we've got standard deviation. This is all very important data that, Batman might want from us. We've got min, maximum, all useful descriptive statistics, right? Cool. Now we're going to go ahead, open the data tab again, head to data analysis, and now we're going to do some regression. So select regression, hit OK, input your Y range. This is what you want to see how, this is your Y range. We're going to do nights patrolled. And then we're going to, for our X range, we want to compare it to how it's affected by coffee refills. And we're also going to do bat signals. We're going to create two regression charts. Here, click labels as we've selected labels. And I'm going to do a new worksheet. I'm going to make sure we click that and that. And hit OK. Sweet. Now you have both your charts and your summary of outputs, as well as residual output, which we ticked. Zoom that in a bit, make it easier to see. Take the summary of outputs, and we also have our coefficients and our residual output. Sweet. Now we're gonna create a correlation chart. So head to data, go to data analysis, and click on correlation. Okay. Sweet. Now select your data, each data point, sorted by columns, and make sure labels is ticked as we have labels. And I'm going to put this in a new worksheet here. Bang. Oh, looks like we have, let me just spread this out. Looks like we have 0.9 values for everything. I'm just going to quickly note this down as this indicates that this analysis isn't really useful to us, as everything relates, but we'll touch on that later. Sweet. So open up data analysis, and we're going to try to do a histogram. So when you press OK, you see here that it has input range and also bin range. And we clearly do not have a bin range here. So to keep this neat and to keep the regional data table as it is, I'm going to go ahead and copy the crimes reported and paste it onto a new sheet. And then create bin ranges from there. Again, looks a little cluttered. Space it out. Cool little trick. And let's look at what we have in our crimes reported. I want to see what we have for the minimum and the maximum, so I'm just going to quickly use the Excel function min to check the minimum out of this row, and then do the same thing with the Excel function max. Do it with this row. Bang, now we have our smallest and largest values, so we know approximately what to put our bin ranges at. I'm just going to do intervals of 50 going from 100 up to 350. That should cover up all our values. Excel has this cool trick where if you put in the first two and it's a pattern, as you can see it's increasing by 50. If you select both and then you drag it by pressing that box, you can drag it all the way down to, continue that pattern to where you want. Now that I have it at 350, we're going to go ahead and press data analysis again, open up our histogram, and now we actually have our input range and our bin range. So let's quickly check those in. Our bin range. Yep, we've also, labeled that we've included labels. New worksheet, call it histogram, and then make sure you just put on cumulative frequencies and that bottom one. Cumulative frequencies is optional, but yep. Now that we have this, we can see our histogram and our dot table. Sweet. So now that we have all the data on the different sheets, I just want to keep it a bit organized for Batman here. So I want to put it all into one main sheet to put all our findings there. Luckily for many of them, I've pre-spaced them out, made it quite nice and even, but here I'm just going to get the values that I think are most relevant for Batman with our descriptive statistics. It just means leaving a couple of values that, skewness isn't really important here. We're not checking the spread of data or anything like that. You'll see here I found a quick way to do it, which is just copy across the entire thing. So just quickly do that there. Do it for all of them, space them out nicely, make it look neat. This entire bit is mainly just making it look neat. Getting the data that you need there. We're going to get our regression coefficients. We're going to get the values, k-values, get our graph. We're going to do the same for the rest of the charts here in a sec. Yeah, I'm just quickly putting a note, reminding correlation isn't really useful, as we put on the original correlation sheet. Bang, and now we're going to do an awesome little Batman theme, black and yellow. Just to, spruce it up a bit, make it look nice. We are dealing with Batman here. I try to get some style, some colors, make it look dark. And yeah, just make the data presentable, add some titles, add some notes on the side, and yeah. Just spreading out the data again, making it look neat, giving some cool borders. Usually when cleaning up in Excel, the usual thing you do is, put all your main data and all your findings onto one sheet. Obviously, if your findings have a lot of clusters and information you don't need, you can separate those out and just label what you want. But here, I'll just do a quick little scroll through. See, I've got my correlation, descriptive, regression, my charts, the histogram as well, all the data there. Alright, Batman. Whilst looking through your data you gave me, the indicators we had there were crimes reported, nights patrolled, how many patrols, villain sightings, coffee refills, and bat signal activations. The averages of those throughout the data that you had 231 crimes a month on average. You averaged 35 patrols a month as well, and 14 monthly coffee refills. That's better than me. You're patrolling a lot and not drinking that much coffee. I drink twice that, right? Moving on, when we go on to a bit further into the data, you had your busiest month being July with 53. That's because July is Joker's favorite month. That's why. There's the data right there. And our minimum patrols, December, you had only 18 patrols in that month. Maybe, villains like Christmas. Maybe that's what's going on there. We could look further into that with more data. Moving on to correlation, this was a bit of a useless test for us, right? Everything was above 0.9. What does this tell us? That tells us that there was no one driver of any of these indicators. There wasn't one driver of your workload and what you do that month, right? That also tells us that Gotham doesn't really do moderation. Villains aren't going to make it easy for you, right? Moving on to regression, we were checking coffee versus nights patrolled and bat signals versus nights patrolled. We found these to be the strongest with an R value of 0.98. What does that tell us? That tells us that the model explains 98% of Batman's activity, right? That means at the end, these numbers worked out to be with each extra coffee, you're doing an extra patrol. And for every bat signal activation, you're doing an extra 0.8 patrols, which is a bit interesting. It could mean you're either slacking on your bat signals, that's kind of scary for whoever needs it, right? Or you've been really, really tied up. Whenever there is a bat signal, you're too stuck to do anything, right? That happens. Looking at the histogram, the distribution throughout the year, most months had around 200 to 300. That tells us that Gotham never sleeps, just like never sleeps. You have no quiet months, and the quiet months are just less chaotic months, right? And finally, moving on. With the analysis complete, from what we can see, Gotham's chaos is incredibly consistent. You know, when villains rise, crimes rise, bat signal turns on, all that jazz. What does the regression show? It shows that caffeine and bat signals are the biggest, predictors for your workload. If you wanted to try and see what you'd be doing that month, look at those two indicators. That's that we found were the strongest ones. The histogram, is just showing you that Gotham never sleeps. That's just how it is for you. And in conclusion, out of this data, what would I recommend? I'd recommend for you to keep stocked up on coffee. Maybe get a new coffee machine.